All set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Census Complete Count Committee to order. There is a quorum present and 2 members on the line, or 1 member on the line, and here comes another member, Rachel. Thank you. So first item is approval of the agenda. Any objections? Approved. Next item
Nope.
is,
Roll call.
oh, sorry, yeah. Approval of the agenda. So state your name and your vote, please.
Margareta, yes?
Kelly Cooney, yes.
Tom, yes.
Christy, yes. Rachel, yes.
Peter Morrison, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item, approval of minutes, September 12th. So people who were here need to vote on this. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, a motion to approve is in order.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Roll call of the people who were here.
Rachel, yes.
John wasn't
I wasn't there.
Margareta, yes?
Peter wasn't.
Those who can vote would be Andrew, Nancy, who's not here, Rachel, Margareta, Thomas, because you're on the phone.
Oh, Tom, I.
Andrew, aye.
Okay.
Approved. Okay, public comments. Any comments from the public? No, we'll move on. Introduction of guests. So we have Angie here, right? Angie, would you like to say something to the group or introduce yourself? That'd be great.
My name is Angie Covington. I live in Falmouth, and I work for the Census, and I'm here to assist in however I can.
Great. Will you and Laura be tag teaming? Will we see both of you, or what will your role be in the future?
I will be able to need me to come to an event or give you any information about the Census as we're moving along with jobs that will be available and any kind of media information that you need. I can connect you with the people that do because we have certain media departments. I'm not allowed to do certain things. You know, we have everything set. So if there's something that you need that I can't give you, I can connect you with the people that can help you.
Perfect, that's great.
Are you sort of our regional rep, or?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
great.
I'm the connector. I'm basically the bridge from the Cape to Nantucket.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Will you oversee Nantucket Census employees, or will somebody else be doing that here?
Somebody else should, as far as I understand. It's such a, between the Cape and Nantucket and
Hi.
then your.
So, as far as I understand, I am your liaison. So, I'm still the official liaison for Nantucket until if we decide otherwise.
Okay, great. Good to know. Well, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So on to action discussion items. So we're continuing our discussion. Item A, which is opportunities for collaborative efforts with Remain Hospital, Faith Community School System, Community School Mira, and others. Maybe Margareta and I can update on where we are with the position at least. So just to recap for everybody, Remain has offered, Margareta really led this to reach out to them, and they have offered a grant to cover a part-time person for a limited time period to help us with, I guess, coordinate everything and do the kind of tasks that need to be done.
Yeah.
We are setting that up through the town system, where we already have the infrastructure to set up the temporary positions that we've done in the past with them.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, I guess, getting a few more bits of information to put in.
Right, which we can decide today or we can decide offline. It's really, we sent a proposal which was kind of a job description with some loose language about hours and rate and what the responsibilities would be. And they just need to know what that is. So I was kind of thinking that, I was hoping by now we might have somebody who had stepped up to say they were interested in the position, and they
We
said,
do.
do we?
Yeah, I got a resume.
Fabulous.
Thought I forwarded it to you.
No, but that's fine. I don't need to see it.
Okay.
So I think what we need to decide as a group is, we had said that the hourly rate we thought would be $25 an hour, and that over the span of the next now 10 months or 11 months, that it would be about 20 hours a week, like 15 to 20 hours per week. If that's what we all decide that we think is gonna make this happen, that's all Remain needs. They don't, because I talked to Bernie this morning, they don't need a body in place who's gonna say, I need this. So if we're in consensus about that, then we just take out that little yellow highlight with question marks and we say, this is what we would like, and put a number on it. And then that goes to Wendy for approval,
Yep.
and then it goes back to
Greg.
Greg for input into the flux system.
Right. And their physical location is gonna be over with you.
It can be. If
Yeah.
you all don't have room, I think we could, it's not a perfect spot, you know, but it's a nice little corner, it has a window, big window.
Where are your offices?
9B Bayberry Court. Used to be the old bank the call center.
Okay, so $25 an hour, is everybody comfortable? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Reasonable? Yes? Any dissent on that? No?
Is that what the census is paying people as well?
No, they're gonna start at 19 for enumerators.
The skill set's a little bit different here, where it really would be an admin position and having some wherewithal to keep us in line. I mean, the whole idea is to make sure that we do what we say we're gonna do. And we've found with other committees like this, everybody has a full-time job, and if nobody's paid to pay attention to it, it all gets back to the back burner. So I think this would be a great opportunity to pay somebody to make sure that these happen, and they could help Eleanor with minutes or do minutes. I don't wanna get involved with that, but they can really be, it was very helpful with the Behavioral Health Task Force when we had Vanessa doing it. It really helped a lot.
And Eleanor, that doesn't mean you're doing an awesome job. It's just
No,
that
at all. You have your own full-time job. I mean,
She
that's,
has other,
exactly,
lots of things, so yeah.
exactly.
Was that the pay comparison?
It was a little bit higher there, but we also had a master's level person there, so I
Yep.
think that was a little bit different.
But that, yeah, that makes sense why you, just curious.
Yep.
Couldn't remember.
Yeah, I know.
Even though it's there.
And you're like, yes, you were, every step of the way.
Hour-wise, anybody have any thoughts on the hours?
I think we ought to, this is Peter, I think we ought to at least put in a statement that says we're envisioning this as half-time throughout, but that it's obviously going to be a little bit below that for the next month or two or three perhaps, and it's going to reach a peak starting in perhaps, January, February, March, or
Right.
at least the possibility it's going to fluctuate a lot
Right,
with a heavy weighting after, starting in January.
Yep.
So that the person involved knows that there's going to be, they need to set the time aside.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, Peter.
Yeah.
We can write that into the job description. I don't
Right.
think Remain needs to know that, they just want a we
Should we, I wonder if we
Right.
should base it on 25? I don't know, just to make sure we're
25
covered.
hours.
Yeah,
We can ask for that. We
Yeah.
can say that we've discussed this and we think that it really would be more like 25 hours a week for the next foreseeable future and see what the reaction is. I'd rather have it overfunded than under, because at the end of the day, we don't want to run out of that grant money and have no support.
right.
I mean, we would find some support, honestly, but still, I think,
If they're open to it,
I would be in favor of that as well.
Okay.
I think 25 an hour says this is a little more than a half-time job, and it kind of buys you some priority in
Right.
a person's life.
do we run into any issues with the town in terms of independent contractor versus employee?
trying to remember the cutoff.
I was gonna say, is there an hourly
Yeah,
number?
it's 21.
21 hours per week is,
Triggers
Yeah.
benefits.
And then above that triggers benefits, so there could, well, like I'm even dealing with it in transition, like the senior center, what qualifies them, like they're not 21 hours a week, but the exercise instructors are considered temporary employees, so
Interesting.
I would consider this a temporary employee.
Yeah.
Under those guidelines.
So
for sure.
temporary employee is different than independent contractor.
Mhm.
So benefits?
Benefits is triggered, I believe, at 21 hours, but I think that should just be confirmed with HR.
All right, so why don't we maybe table this for now, because I think that's what Remain wants to know, like exactly what this is gonna cost. I don't wanna have any surprises down the road.
Right.
So let's maybe look into
I can
that a
follow
little
up
bit
with
more.
that.
I mean, it sounds like unless somebody has a consulting business on the island and is gonna provide this service to us, it sounds like this is an employee. It is not an independent contractor
Okay,
based
I
on the
want your-
Commonwealth's description, and they're very specific about this.
Right.
So I don't want any of us to get into trouble.
I think the out.
Yeah.
as it would, however you wanna call it, might be that if it is a temporary employee, even if they trigger within the hours, like I don't think lifeguards, for instance, are offered.
Right,
So I think that there's something there,
Okay,
but I think. we
because they're on a
have to-
seasonal schedule, and I
Yeah.
think,
I think we would just have to label them they would fall under the article under temporary employee various rates of pay. So at least there's something within the ATM article that kind of allows for this as
Okay.
an unforeseen
Right.
seasonal employee.
Because there's a beginning and a very clear end to this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which makes it kind of unique,
So I
so
think the benefits isn't a concern. I think it's
Okay.
just that they would have to be considered a seasonal employee.
I think
But I
so.
So
Yeah,
you'll
let's,
follow
you'll
up
look
if you
into it?
want.
that would be
I'll do
great,
that.
thank
In
you.
order to get to a, like, kind of wrap this up today, could we maybe just make a motion that allows it to be, somewhere between 20 and 25 hours, we agree on the pay.
Yep.
And then subject to a final determination about the,
What about the
benefits.
21-hour trigger?
I think Rachel's gonna look into that, I think is
Okay.
what she
Yeah.
said, to see what
Because
that looks like.
we wanna set the basic number here,
Okay.
and then, we can revisit the, if there's a separate, benefits
Right.
cost.
Right.
But I would like to get something, because.
And we wanna move on this, and again, it could take a while for the approval to come through too.
Yes.
There was a soft, yes, I think that's a great idea, we would support this, but there was not a specific number there, so
Right.
that's what they're looking for.
So you want a motion to approve hiring?
Could I just suggest one way to possibly hedge against the uncertainties here is to recognize the fact that the census is going to continue well beyond April 1st, and they're going to be sweeping up people who can be counted right through, as I recall, August.
Right.
So you might want to say,
Yeah, this is a
this
10-month
is a position
position.
that we want to run through the end of June at $20 an hour.
Right, well, I was looking at it actually starting, now, hopefully, or in the foreseeable future,
Right.
through the month of August, at least. I think there's gonna be a wrap-up
Oh,
period
okay,
that's gonna,
you already got that.
Yeah.
You got that built in then.
Yep.
And of course, once you get to the, I would say, my estimate would be that once you get into the June, July, August, you're no longer really spending, 30 hours a week. You're spending perhaps more like 15.
Right.
So that might all level off as a nice plan,
yep, exactly,
dollar-wise.
perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so Rachel, you'll get in touch with me when you get some clarity around that, and then I'll reach back to, I'll copy you, but I'll reach back to Romaine
Yeah.
to say, this is the number, this is what we're looking at, and then that starts their ball rolling, and then they'll get back in touch with Greg. They've already had correspondence.
Right, I saw that, yeah.
Yep.
So Eleanor, do we have a motion kind of?
Yeah,
Worked out
I
for-
was gonna help you craft it, okay, hold on. Motion to approve hiring of a temporary employee, since that seems to be the lingo we're looking for.
Yep.
As an administrator, to assist the 2020 Census Complete Count Committee, for anywhere up to 25 hours a week, or do we want to say up to 30? I mean, he was just talking about 30. Up to 25 hours a week?
How about an average up to an average of 25 hours a week, because
Okay.
that wouldn't preclude 1 week 30, the next week 10. Yeah,
Okay.
just kind of,
At a rate, base rate of $25 per hour?
Is there a motion?
Someone needs to make the motion, I'm just.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Further discussion
Proceed.
on the motion? Okay, roll call?
oh, Margaret, aye?
Kelly, I.
Tom, I.
Christy, I.
Rachel, I.
Peter?
Peter Morrison, aye.
Andrew, aye. So it's unanimous. Thank you all.
And
I think
Vatsity,
Vatsity-
Mira, aye.
Yeah, Vatsity.
Oh, that's
okay.
easier, yay, welcome.
I know, when this-
I didn't hear it come in.
I did hear, I heard
That
you.
was a really great conversation.
Okay, any other items under, item A that we need to discuss? We have some upcoming, sessions, right, Eleanor?
Yes, hold on, let me scroll down where you are. Continue to send me. Yes, we have the October 19th Elder Fair, which if this employee is hired by then, I don't know. Here comes Nancy. You and Laura Medrano are going to be at the table, and we'll have to pull together some suitable materials. I have a lot of stuff that I could give you.
Yep.
Educational materials, and maybe have a sign up. You all maybe want to discuss what you want to do with that table, because that's probably before your next meeting.
Yep.
And then in terms of other upcoming events, I guess, want to hear from other people if they know of other community events that we could be present at. That would be suitable.
Was there a school thing that we were talking about?
Open house happened already.
Open
Oh.
house happened already.
But that's too chaotic. It really wouldn't.
I
be
agree with
good.
you.
I
That's-
mean, I
yeah.
went
Yeah.
to
Nobody's focusing on anything other
hours
than
and
trying to
then-
get to their next class.
Yeah, it's
Right.
literally.
But we have English learner, parent advisory councils, and then other other, we could look at the school calendar events and or we will be having, Tracy Roberts and I were talking about other events we wanna have in the winter. We could have one and just invite you to set up a table
Okay,
kind of thing. So I'll get back to you on that.
okay,
That's something we wanna do.
So you'll get back to Andrew and her
all right, great.
with upcoming events.
Maybe not
Could I
necessarily.
just make a
events,
comment
but-
here, on all of these events, the Elder Fair, especially events at the school like the ELL parent advisory meetings, it would be superb if we could, at these meetings, unobtrusively try to obtain some form of contact with the individual with whom we're talking or providing information, and just say, we'd like to follow up with you, what's your name? Is there a phone number we can reach you at, et cetera, so that when the time comes, months later, we can recruit people who are networkly connected to these people through the various communities of origin, faith-based communities, and say, here's a list of people that we need to remind. We need to have someone remind who is a trustworthy individual and friend, or at least a known person, to be sure to execute. That's going to be critical, because people will walk away from these meetings and say, yeah, I'll do it, and we may not have that much influence. I think it's really important we just have to use our judgment as to how we get the information without instilling fear or triggering fear. So that's kind of an important to-do thing that we need to tailor to each one of these things, and especially the ELL parent advisory meetings. Those are the ones where we are getting the people who are most likely not to respond, and they just need someone to get them on the telephone to answer some questions.
Yep.
Agree with that. I think we can talk about that a little in our next item as well. We're gonna start doing some things on the town side to get some different pages set up and some information out. Okay, we ready to move on to item B? Anybody else on item A? Kind of all overlap. Okay, so item B, the social media campaign, other types of outreach. So thank you, Peter, for that. I think, Eleanor, we just had a discussion today with Florencia, right? Who is gonna
Yes, so.
set up a page on the town's website at least?
I did an update of our, as I do frequently, of our webpage that's dedicated to this committee, with new documents, and the email that I sort of tailored it to have people have access to the how do you verify that this is a legitimate census taker, that sort of stuff. So there's a bunch of helpful documents, information up there. I like to keep it fresh. And so when she updated that, she came back and said, how about we put something in the newsletter, the town newsletter. They're discussing right now what they're going to do for the October newsletter, and she would like to put something in relative to our committee and what we do and what we're,
That's great.
what our goals are.
Are any of those documents translated? If not, are there any funds to have things translated?
I think one of them, which came from the census, the Secretary of Commonwealth guys last month, there were flyers. I think those had, the flip side was in Spanish, I believe.
It is, that's typical.
Yeah, but that's it. Other than that, no. I don't know how much traffic there is on the town website from people from the Spanish-speaking community.
I would just download them and have them on paper at our events.
Yeah,
If
but that could be something maybe.
I have
That could be part of the Census Equity
the
Fund.
flyer,
Right.
the flyer that was handed out last time is Spanish. So depending on when we're doing these events or posting it up, we should have Portuguese available probably next week.
Great.
I could send that over to you.
Portuguese.
Okay.
The
and-
flyer that she brought last month.
Okay.
That was the double-sided one, I think.
Right, that was in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. Yes, we have lots of Brazilians who don't speak English. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Vatsadi.
Yeah, no problem.
Any languages, Bulgarian, although frankly the Bulgarian community is pretty proficient in English.
Yeah, they
I think, to what we've discussed before is an outreach to the to the PO box holders to make sure that they're alerted to this. And I think when we get our person, that's sort of one of the things we need to get going fairly soon.
Yep.
To get that, some mailings out.
And I know you wanna do something with our census in December.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what's your did we talk about that already, your deadline? I think we did.
You know, the printer that I use emailed it to me the other day, and I forgot to bring it. But I think she's having them set for mailed January 13th. I think the deadline is some date in December. I'll email it to you, Andrew.
Okay, great.
This to include in the tax bills?
No, in the
Oh.
census, the
In the
annual census.
Oh, okay, the annual
That goes
census.
out, yeah.
Got it.
The towns.
So this is a disclaimer to say this is different? Every time the 2020 census is different than,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just, we'll craft it, but to let
Just
them
like
know
an
about it,
alert,
to let them know.
and,
Right.
Yeah,
right,
that, the town census is not the US census, that will be a separate
Yeah.
thing, and, to alert people, there's other ways to get on it, like
Yeah.
by the those new ways, which hopefully will.
And that, it would definitely behoove us to do in English and Spanish, because we'll be going to every household
Exactly.
that we know of.
and what about the tax bills, having just gotten mine yesterday?
Yeah.
Is that something that that the treasurer would be open to?
I
They would
don't,
go out in
Putting
January?
something like the little thing that's like scholarship gift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, we could ask, I don't know if they have any regulations of that nature or not, we'd have to ask, but of course, then the other thing is the tax bills, it is another outreach, like you said, and it will get the box holders, but it definitely doesn't get everybody, because it only
Right.
gets the property owners.
Right, exactly.
As you know.
Right.
but-
But that's a good
Yeah.
chunk
What about
of
water bills?
electric bills, Comcast.
Yeah.
Cause then you're hitting the
Then you're getting everybody.
renters.
You're getting everybody.
Then you're getting everybody. But I don't know,
Water
like if you're
bills
on
are
a
good.
well, you don't get a water bill. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of
Sure.
us that
Renters,
don't.
yeah, this utilities are.
But
included.
water is a good idea, I like that idea, because again,
Yeah.
it's under the town umbrella.
And
Well,
Comcast would
Linda
be
could
good.
probably tell us that, if that's allowed, or.
I would go to all the utilities and just say,
Yep.
is this a possibility to have an insert in your March bill or something?
Yeah,
Just
and it could be
a
one and
reminder.
the same insert, I suppose.
It,
It's the
I
same
think it could be
message, right?
exactly the
Yeah.
same insert. Yeah,
It'd have to be
Did we
translated.
talk about an insert in the senior newsletter?
we did not.
Storage that?
That would make
Send
sense.
that to Laura and she can add that to her newsletters.
I also
those
wonder
monthly?
about the,
They are, and they're electronic, and she has a very large constant.
It's a very
contact.
large mailing
Laura.
list. Yeah,
Laura who?
Laura
Stewart.
Stewart, the program director at the senior center.
senior center.
Is that EWART?
STEW, yep.
Kelly, you were saying?
Like the 8th grade civics class, because the social studies frameworks recently shifted, so civics is in 8th grade now. I wonder if there's a way to get the history department involved, because there are a lot of different census curricula materials flying around.
Mm.
But then that would be a way to get word out to kids and families.
And have the kids come up with ideas about
Yeah.
how to network,
Yeah,
right? That would be very cool.
Cool project.
yeah.
Be very cool.
Who would you know?
I want to
I
underscore
would
that,
know, like,
that whole idea
Daniel,
of, getting the kids involved. That's your interpersonal, intra-family connector point, and anything you can get in their hands and say, this is what delivers the dollars for free lunches at school, Mom.
And kids are could
That's
normally
really
uncounted.
that's the way to pick up the
Yeah.
ones who are not going to answer.
But I also like this because it's not just targeting our immigrant family kids. This is the whole 8th
The
grade,
whole-
so that it's a whole curriculum issue, not a
Right.
cultural issue. I think that really makes a lot of sense. I like that. I think that'd be
Mhm.
very cool.
Yeah,
So
it does.
I can be the contact, but maybe if this group sends an email, just kind of saying, so it's a little bit more official,
Mhm.
and then, I can forward it to them, and they could just say, we discussed civics in the 8th grade, and I would forward it to him and the principal, and, just try to support him with some of the census materials, but there's a lot out there that's
Okay.
free, actually.
So email to you and then you'll take it from there.
Yeah.
Would you wanna go and do, I can tell you that the kids love it when the non-teacher comes in and does a little like
Oh,
presentation
yeah.
spiel.
A song and dance.
The expert, you're a good teacher, would you wanna go and do like a little?
Never mind.
Unfortunately, my kid's in 7th grade, so they won't benefit, but, go do a little, like if I were to reach out to I have connections with the teachers, so if I were to reach out to the head of the social studies department and say, we would love to, have a little kind of extracurricular educational thing about civics and so forth, would you wanna maybe go and do like a half an hour spiel? question answer?
I mean, I'm happy to do it. I don't know if somebody who feels less official or something, I'm happy to do it, but I'm open to other ideas on that.
I mean, it could be cute if we had stickers and things, and we could plan for it, doesn't have to be now.
Yeah.
But in brochures, and there is free curriculum, so I don't know if he's planning on doing it, but right now there's tons of stuff
That's
out
out
there
already.
for them.
Yeah.
So it would be nice though to have someone go and visit and we could provide the interpreter.
It could be like get out GOTC, get out the census stickers, like the kids love those, I voted or future voter.
Okay.
Yep.
That is
And I'm
great.
sure if we plan some swag to go with it,
Oh, yeah,
as
Oh,
it
it'd
gets
be-
closer to the time,
It'll be taken home.
somebody will do it. Yeah, yeah.
yes.
All right, so will you connect me with the,
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Any other items under B? Anybody have anything else to say?
What, do we have a
Oh, actually,
Facebook?
could I just raise a question, Andrew?
Yeah.
On the enlistment of the ambassadors to the various immigrant communities, is there anybody who feels qualified to sort of take that on with the names and contact information that I've assembled? I mean, I can call these people individually, but I think, this is something where we need to have somebody in charge of that key group and trying to expand it by, personal knowledge.
Well,
Not immediately, but
I think when
these
we
are the
know
ones we're
what we
gonna
want
work
them
through.
to do, I can help with that, but I don't wanna just call them and say, there's a
Give-
census.
right, give us a hand,
Like
yeah.
if we know
I
we're
Yeah.
going to maybe,
What I was
sponsor an
thinking of
event.
doing is there's a way that we can help at the Civic League by trying to kickstart it in a way that I have in mind, which would say that, these are people who would be kind of pre-contacted and say, yeah, I'd like to help. And I could then say, well, you're going to hear from so-and-so on our 2020 Complete Count Committee. Stay tuned. It's November now, but you won't hear from them until January. But I can kind of keep the network, bring the network to life, and then say, I'd like to hand the whole network over to somebody.
Well,
And we need that somebody among us other than me.
Peter, I'd like to see the Civic League do more with more diverse representation than what it traditionally has done. So I think it's a great opportunity for you to host something through the Civic League. And
Yeah, I was
maybe,
thinking of doing that. I'm not sure that we can get what we want by holding an event. It's more having somebody who knows the key contact people and can work to them and say, can you assemble these other people and say, we're all a group of people who are trying to work toward a common objective. I have talked to a couple, at least one of the faith-based, leaders, the religious leaders, and they're so swamped with other stuff that they don't have time to handle it, but they can kind of legitimize what we're doing.
Would it be appropriate
But
for,
having some,
excuse me, Peter, go ahead.
we need to have somebody on our committee who can to whom I can hand off the ball at a point in the late fall or possibly even December and say, these are people who are primed, ready to go. They know they're part of a group. We've told them what's going on and they're willing to work with us. And you're now the contact point who will be managing how it works. It may not be a lot of management, but it's not something that I can, necessarily be available to deal with. I want to have somebody that they can
I
call.
think that's
with
the
questions
employee
and
though.
say,
Isn't
"What
that,
should I do
isn't
about
that the
this?"
that's
position?
what I was gonna
Sorry.
say.
Wouldn't, yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't the employee maybe take that list and maybe host a meeting or something
Do
with
some basic
them,
outreach,
and
yeah.
even maybe have a few of us there as support to say,
Yeah.
here's what we're looking to do. Are you interested? And rev that up. So I looked at that as an event, but that the employee themselves could then take and
Agreed.
introduce themselves to run,
Right.
That kind of leads into what Andrew has as C. I thought the same thing, that it would be sort of, that's what I was thinking, right or wrong, that it was be sort of coordinated by the employee, and maybe it could be a couple of coffees or a couple of
Yeah.
meetings, one with the faith group, maybe there could be
Yeah.
2 or 3 opportunities, and And some of us could go to
So
each
each-
and
yeah.
explain and say, you know, this is where we need your help, and, you know.
I think especially once the season
Yeah, I think that would
ends.
work. Actually, if we have our
Social
part-time
events
employee, and keep in mind that these are people who, it will be very difficult to assemble them in one place at one time because they're all
Right.
overcommitted. And it may well be that it might take our employee and one of us, such as me, to contact them and say, I want to talk to you on the phone for 15 minutes to follow through on what we talked about one-on-one, and get them primed and say, we'd like to have a meeting together, but we know we're only going to get a few of you at any given time. We can try to have meetings, but my guess is they're going to all be so busy that they won't be able to attend the meetings on any regular basis. So we have to reach out to them.
Well, I agree.
But
And
as long as we got our part-time employee,
Yeah.
it'll work.
I don't think we can expect them to attend meetings on any regular basis, but I think, you know, as Kelly was just saying, when the season ends and people are maybe working a little bit less, maybe if we offer 2 or 3 opportunities, can you come for a meeting and a cup of coffee? Let's talk about how we can implement this. And I guess that's why, you know, segueing into C, we need sort of a savvy go-getter type of a person.
Right.
Well, right, and I think.
Yeah, I like that idea. We'll try to get them, most of them through a meeting, but we got to follow up with a few others perhaps.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I think with the ambassadors, I mean, again, we're trying to get people who are prominent, who are gonna get the word out. And Peter, you're the one that brought it up about the Civic League, so there's lots of prominent people that seem to get the word out all the time over there. So, again, and I don't think a little diversity in that group would hurt you. So, you can
Right.
bring that back to
Okay,
your
I'll
officers
put
from
down,
me.
Civic League is going to set up the ambassadors.
Perfect.
Good.
You heard it here first.
And it's a topic I've brought up before too, it's nothing new.
Right.
Any more on item B? Item C, any more discussion on part-time administrator position that we haven't already talked about?
Did I miss anything? Is there any news on
Oh,
that?
we did take a vote,
Okay.
$25 an hour, probably with a 10-month assignment.
Nice.
Average of 25 hours is what we're shooting for, subject to some final determination about benefits. Position will be set up as a temporary employee under the town umbrella. The physical location will be over at Community Foundation offices.
Yep.
And we have maybe somebody that had at least expressed interest that we're gonna
Thank you.
talk to. Yeah.
Thank you for telling me.
Do we need to advertise this job?
That was my next question.
It probably will have to be at least posted. So it could be an internal post, but we'll see.
And the other question is, depending on the person, do they have to be actually in an office?
Well, right.
They
that's true.
could in fact work from their home,
Right,
right?
Yep.
So, okay, so,
yeah, if they need, first, or at least if they need some sort of space, they have
Exactly,
it
exactly.
available with you. So,
Yep.
yeah.
making sure.
When's kind of the earliest time frame we think this person might be on board?
I would say as soon as possible.
Late
I mean,
October.
late
or
October would be
first
realistic, November
something.
1 maybe, as a target. Especially if it has to be
That's
posted, right?
That's pretty good.
Which I think is, pretty good timing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
And that's the 10 months really, right? November through to August. So.
Yep.
Hi, so this is Laura Medrano. So when you hire her, maybe I can spend some time with her to bring it up throughout the census thing. That she will
Absolutely,
be ready just to hit the ground.
absolutely. I mean, ideally, if this was somebody who was bilingual, that would be incredible. But I don't think we put that in as a requirement. We could, I mean, we could make that decision that, actually, we could put that in as a preference or strongly preferred.
Sure.
Okay, I can
But
make
the
that.
hours are during the regular workday.
Well, that's, again, yes and no. So for a
Flexible.
meeting now, yes, they need to be at a meeting. But to do this outreach to community groups, I don't think they need to be sitting at my desk at 9B Bayberry Court. I think they could be doing this from home. That's my personal feeling. Some people.
Or meeting somebody.
Or meeting somebody
somewhere.
off-site, or having them into our office for a community meeting, or here for a community. I mean, that's how I envision this, not sitting at a desk 20 hours a week thinking, what are they gonna do today? I mean,
Right.
It's more
Yeah.
task oriented, and again, needs somebody who's self-motivated and, as you said, a real go-getter. The perfect person. Just sitting out there waiting for us.
Right.
That haven't found
The
to
one we
hire in
dream
the
of,
schools.
yes.
Yeah, exactly, haven't found him anywhere else. But the flexibility may be something that could be really appealing to somebody,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I do wonder a little bit about the pay. I don't know what the going rate is for, I don't know. But if it's someone, cause I wonder if it's, cause I was picturing someone more like retired maybe, doing the job. But then that
Okay.
changes things if we want someone who, potentially is bilingual, cause I feel like most of our bilingual people are like moms still and not
Right.
retired.
Right.
So that's why I just wonder.
I think it's funny. I wasn't picturing someone retired, but you're opening my mind to it. It could be anyone, but
Could
I
be
think
anyone,
the
yeah.
anyone has to be somewhat social media and computer savvy, or they're not going to be able to do the outreach that's needed.
Right.
That's part of
Yeah.
the job description, I think.
Are we gonna want like an Instagram feed and all that stuff? Cause that appeals to both the non-English speakers.
The more
and-
ways we can get the word out, the better.
The more ways, the better. Yeah, and I think even though maybe it's not a lot of pay, I think doing a position like this and being able to put on your resume, I think would look really good.
Mm.
I think.
Yeah, for like a kid recently out of college who's
Yeah.
doing, so
that's
they're,
what I was
I
thinking.
think it's kind of keep it kind of
Could I,
broad.
could I just express a note of caution? I am fearful that if you make any mention about bilingual being strongly preferred or even preferred, that might just tip the right candidate off and say, doesn't sound like I could get the job. I would
agree.
say, bilingual is a nice thing to have, but it's by no means the first tier requirement or talent that we want. And I would suggest not making any mention of that. We have plenty of people who are bilingual who can serve that purpose if need be
Okay?
among our ambassadors.
Do you think that in
Just a
the,
cautionary note.
Yep, no,
In
I
the-
guess a good point, Peter, thanks.
I agree, and do you think that in the Remain grant, there would be any money to stipend interpreters or translators? So,
No, this is just to fund the position. I think
Okay.
we might have some success on the Mass Equity Grant for things like translation.
like
I
if we
think
knew
that's-
we wanted flyers or
Yeah,
if we want,
Yeah,
because I'm just thinking of people I know who have small children and have jobs. Volunteering isn't as easy to do when you're trying to work all the time to pay for all of your bills.
Right.
But if it were something like stipended to attend and interpret, like so to not necessarily be the liaison volunteer, but to be literally paid to be there to interpret and or to translate materials on the side, I think that would be great as well.
Yep.
Because then, by virtue of the fact that you have one of those people doing it, they are gonna then just for free also advertise for you. Just
That's right.
because they're gonna have the stuff and throw it on their webpage or their
Right.
church or their friends or so.
And they're invested. Once they've done that, then they're
Yeah.
invested in that process,
And they
which
kind
is
of
great.
get it
Yeah,
more, yeah.
yeah,
And,
yep.
and I do have some departmental funds that I can put towards some of it.
Good.
Professional services and other things, so.
Towards
Okay.
translating?
Towards
Translating.
translating, towards other,
Interpreting. Translating is when it's just on paper, and interpreting is when it's face to face.
Right. I used to be actually and an interpreter.
okay, great.
There's many avenues and buckets that we can
Yeah.
draw from,
Oh,
would be
sure.
great.
Okay.
Can I just go back to, interpreter, I spelled that wrong. The thing with Florencia about having something on the town newsletter, who is gonna be the point person for that? What do we wanna do with that? Cause it's all well and good to say we'll do it, but what are we gonna do? Do we wanna provide an article for her?
I think we want to be putting some of this material out, right, that we've been getting, talking about the upcoming census. There's some articles that I've seen that are interesting.
She could put links to our webpage
Yep.
and there's tons of stuff right there.
I gave you that be a census taker mailing that I got in the mail.
Mhm.
I mean, I think she should get that on the website. And
Okay.
I've sent that to the HR department in case they run across anybody that might be interested. So the more that could be put up, and I think we'll move into at least something with the select board where there's at least announcements about the census that should happen at least monthly and maybe more frequently as we get closer to the actual day
Right.
in April. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think the town managers should be there monthly. There should be a little blurb in there every month between now and July, really. Or even daybreak. I mean, I know he's going to 3 days a week,
okay,
but
right, yeah.
like just a little, again, a link to the website, census, don't think that Nantucketers aren't taking this seriously.
Right.
Bill Farrell will write something I know.
Yeah, yeah, and look for updates at the census page. And
Right.
ensure.
So if you've been keeping that alive and active and up to date, then I would say just that's all you need is the link. If people are interested, then they'll click through.
So
While we're
here's
on this topic,
one
can I
thing-
just throw out one more ID, which I think has general applicability here? And I'll give you an example. One of the plans that we have in mind for the Civic League with our 2,000 plus members is to encourage them not just to participate in the census, but to somehow show a friend, i.e. a person who cleans your house or anybody who you have a close, personal, trustworthy contact with, show a friend how to do the thing. And that could be as simple as saying to a person who regularly is in your house, why don't we sit down for 10 minutes and we'll get you answering the census. Here's the phone. I can help you with it. If you get all sorts of people enlisted to do that, not just to get them to, and I'm thinking in terms of, let's say, if you take Libby's weekly or monthly, whatever it is, thing that's on, we some of us see, all of us presumably being people who would answer the census anyhow, and her message is, we got a big census coming, be sure to answer it, and help a friend do it. You can do it and give them a concrete example, sit them down, call the number, and get them to answer it now. That way you can propagate the whole thing outward to hundreds of people.
I think the idea of helping a friend is really nice, but I just wonder what the line is between helping and that person maybe feeling coerced. I just wonder if that could cause a level of discomfort in somebody.
And that's a good point. It's a
This is
very,
working for you.
very
Yeah.
kind of fragile sort of thing, but I know one person I'm gonna do it to, do it with, whose trust I have.
Let us know how that works out.
That's right. You'll be our guinea pig.
Yeah. Okay, item D, field operations, promoting census taker positions. So again, did everyone get that in the mail, the census taker
I did.
card? No?
I don't recall seeing it. I'm sure I
It's
must
like a
have.
little red card. Eleanor, do you have it? Did you copy it?
Blue.
I didn't get that.
I left it on your chair.
I just tossed mine. It's been on my
Me
desk.
too.
I thought it was blue. Was it red?
Yeah, I
Some information has questions, flyers, and then.
Mine was a card like this.
It was a little,
Yeah,
it was
thanks.
a postcard, like be a census taker.
This is just information.
Typical.
Probably gets all
Yeah.
junk, you know,
And
it's
then
not.
I know. Half the time it's
Yeah.
so.
There's great links on those too.
Well, good, that information is great. Okay, so thank you for that. Local update of the census address operation. So we have filed basically an appeal on the Luca. There were about 50 addresses that they deleted, or no, there were about 70 addresses that they deleted. And we filed an appeal yesterday to put 50 of them back. They were using, we think, the 2014 aerial,
Right.
which was until, again, this week, has been updated to 2018. So they were probably looking and saying, there's a vacant lot here, there's no address.
Right.
So we submitted all the assessor's data, and it's really irrefutable, so hopefully those will all get
Yeah,
added
should.
in. Yeah. So that's
Who
it.
do you submit that to exactly?
Nathan Porter, who's our GIS person. It actually goes to the Census Appeals Committee. I think they're in Indiana. That's where it was
I'm
made.
sure it is, but I know it goes to, yeah, I know the appeals committee.
Yep.
How many layers, how many communities, and oh my God, can you imagine?
The next item that we're working on under Luca is the new construction. information, and that is due,
Local
I think,
updates.
in another 2 weeks.
So that's current construction that couldn't possibly have been reported when you did your,
Right.
what about plans, like building plans?
What we're trying to do is predict any units that will be ready and potentially occupied by that census date of April 1st.
So they have to be like a CO, April 1st?
Yeah.
Okay, not under construction.
Right, right, because it's the census day, right, April 1st.
Right,
Someone has to be eligible to live there.
but they don't have to be occupied.
Does not have to, well, it could be vacant, right, it could end up listing as a vacant unit, but it has to be finished.
Okay, but that counts if it's a vacant unit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we have tons of units that are gonna be vacant for seasonal use and
right.
vacant for sale.
Think about Richmond, like all those,
That's really where,
that's a big one, right?
yeah, we're going to have, there will be at least 48 units that should be ready for occupancy by then.
What can we do to make sure that they're ready?
I know.
Seriously, can we all go out there and
Go-
shingle?
go with a hammer or-
We can help that process along. That's a lot of units.
And then anything further on the neighborhood address canvassing?
Looks like it's
Laura?
almost done, right?
Yep.
Yeah, October 18th, I believe is the date.
And things are okay? I know there were a couple of little snags at the beginning. People were a little uncomfortable, but
I haven't heard anything new on that.
I have not heard a single word since
Good.
that lady called me.
that's great.
Yeah.
One lady called you?
Yeah, she was upset because she said that the person didn't identify themselves and it
They
just
didn't have
made
a
her
badge, right?
feel
They
uncomfortable.
didn't
Looked
have
at
a
her,
badge.
she said, you know, they
Yeah.
didn't show her, so she called the police. This was very early. This was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he was, in fact, legit. So I don't know. You know, obviously, I can't cast judgment. I wasn't there, but she felt
Social
uncomfortable.
media post about it that I heard of, but it was like very quickly answered who they were.
Yeah.
By other
Yeah.
community members.
Yeah.
I don't
Hmm.
see it, so I don't really go on there, but I don't think there was
Scary
anything
place.
else that was feedback.
Yeah, now,
Good.
now we've got like 2 more weeks and it'll be over.
How are we using social media though? Like, did we put something out there saying, hey, this is happening?
There's gonna be people creeping around your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have a social media presence other than the webpage, so maybe
Yeah.
the part-time employee can set.
I would
something
love
up.
to see it. I mean, I am not a social media person, but I know that most of the world is, and I think that it's a great way to get it out there. Just regularly, you know, a couple of posts a week, just the census is happening. Just you start to imprint it on people's minds.
Well, maybe someone in Nantucket year-round community needs to put something up there.
We can start
Because
with,
the whole world reads that.
Andrew, I have a question about the address canvassing. I recollect somewhere that there was, the addresses at the Richmond property that's being constructed were somewhat ambiguous. And I can't remember the details of it, but it's like, you know, a man from Mars landing on Nantucket, looking at that place would not readily be able to identify some places. Is that, do you know anything about that?
Well, it's partly true right now, but the interior parking lots are going to, the addresses are based on the interior parking lots, which are actually going to get street names. That's how the assessors list them now. And there's an order for lots of street signs that is sort of working its way through the DPW. So by the time, you know, a lot of those units are going to appear on our new construction worksheet, and by the time April rolls around, certainly all of them are going to be named.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that we should maybe call it to the attention of the Census Bureau people and just say, you may have some problems here. If you do, please know that there will be streets and addresses right now. They're being identified in another way. And what may appear like a new construction site actually could be occupied, just so they know, because I'm afraid that you might get an enumerator who's going through and just trying to get done with the job and saying, this doesn't look like anybody lives here, I'm going home.
Yeah, no, I think the new construction program is really meant to address that, Peter.
Okay.
So we give them an extensive list of properties and maps that's part of the submission to them.
so I have
Okay,
a very naive question. Is there a way shortly before this wraps up that we can identify locally which houses, buildings, apartments have not been counted? Based on the information that comes from the Census Bureau?
I'm thinking that that's more after what, the census day is April 1st.
Right.
And then when there's a period after where people who haven't responded or
Right.
there's an attempt to contact them.
It goes through to
right?
August or something.
Yes.
Right.
I just
Yeah,
saw
maybe
it
there's
in
another
here.
push.
Hi,
I don't know if they
Mid-March,
share that with
so
us.
this is Laura.
Laura?
Laurel knows.
So what you're gonna have is some visibility to areas that have no response in real time.
So any building that does not have a response attached to it will be flagged in some way?
No.
No.
No, we cannot like target a single building.
Okay.
But we can target a tract where the response is very low.
Target a what? Oops, sorry, we missed that.
So we can target a tract,
A tract.
you know, a single tract, yeah, but we cannot target like a building or a house. We can target a tract and say in this tract, the response is low.
So what's a tract?
Wait, I did not hear anything. Can someone
either.
please transcribe that to me?
She said, once the count is done in April, the Census Bureau can identify what she's calling a tract
The census
of
tract,
an
so it's like a
undercounted
neighborhood.
area. So is that a neighborhood? Is that a street?
But
Is
they
that
can't
a
target
community?
individual
It's like-
buildings.
It's a neighborhood.
It's more than a neighborhood, it's a piece of, land.
A piece of
with
land?
houses. But that's because of privacy issues, we cannot say this unit did answer, did not answer. We can, what we do, we use a group of units and say, this group of units in this area, the response is low. That's what we can,
Okay,
that we should be able to tell you.
okay.
Does that make sense?
And
Yeah.
I think we could do outreach at that time. I think that would be kind of critical. If you didn't
Right.
get a mailing, if you didn't.
Exactly.
The census is now.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's where our list of especially the PO boxes.
PO box is
so
gonna come in
important.
huge, so a little heads up, it's coming, and then
Yeah.
a follow-up, it happened, did you participate? I
Right.
think would be a good strategy in terms of the mailing.
Okay, other business, anybody have other business or anything for the next agenda they wanna pose?
I've asked Peter to help me actually take the lead on writing the grant application for the Mass Census Equity Fund. I just literally run out of time, I just can't do it. So Peter, thank you for agreeing to help.
Thank you both.
Once that happens, then he and I will work on that. If there's anything, like we talked today, like interpreter services, flyers to be printed, think about swag, anything that you can think of, because what they're looking for is, why do you think you can do this? What's it gonna take to turn the dial on this initiative? And exactly what does that look like? So it needs to be in some detail and with some pretty reasonable estimates of
Yep.
the costs. So please get in touch and let us know what you think. We can all talk about this, but I think it will make sense. Peter, I know, has a much better idea about all of this than I do, so I should have asked him weeks ago to do this, but I kept thinking I could do it, and I just can't. So,
When's it due?
October 25th.
Okay, so we won't,
Yeah, I'm gonna get something drafted, probably in the next 7 to 10 days once I get my head above water. But I know I've got all my ideas I can put into that and
I know you do,
answer
thank
those
you.
questions, and then it'll just be a matter of sending it to everybody, and a few people can say, yeah, let's put the finishing touches on it, all the ideas are here.
Yeah.
Throw in the budget and everything.
So thank you, again, I appreciate your help.
so we won't have another meeting before that, so.
No.
Maybe
So
a
should we
motion.
authorize
I think
Peter?
we should have a motion to authorize the submission of the grant, authorize Margaret and Peter to finalize the details
Perfect.
and submit the grant on behalf of the committee.
Motion made.
A second.
Roll call.
Margaret, aye?
Aye, Nancy, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Tom, I.
Christie, aye.
Rachel, I.
Peter, aye. And once we get
Wait,
a
wait,
draft
wait,
that we're satisfied with, who should I turn it over to?
Hold on,
Hold
Peter,
on, Laura?
or was it Mira?
Who, was it Mira? Oh, Mira's the,
Cassidy.
Yes.
Cassidy, aye.
Thank you.
Who is our
Any
voter in
dry,
there?
so
Andrew,
it's
aye.
unanimous, thank you.
So I think what would make the most sense, Peter, is, we talked about this before, for the foundation to hold this fund, because we have the most flexibility about how the dollars can go out. We would set it up as a no-fee fund, so there'd be no admin cost to this. I don't anticipate there would be a hugely busy fund, so we're not gonna be expending a lot of energy on this. Well, we could do it through the town, if you wanna do it, but then we have that warrant article, you have to accept the funds, and
Yeah, I
then the
know.
dollars going out, you have to, I think it's a little easier to do it through us, quite
Yeah,
honestly.
no, I think that's fine,
Okay,
let's do it that way.
So you'll hold the fund, no.
assuming that we get the grant, now that's the other issue. So
Yeah.
I think the beauty of this also is let's hope we get the grant. If we don't, there are other grant opportunities out there, and there might be private funders. So any fund that we hold can be open to any and all donors. So that way we can look
And
to,
also,
Thank you.
sorry?
also Secretary of State is gonna have funds for the CCP.
Right, you told me that. Is there a
So
way
they're
that we
working
can get a
on
heads
it.
up
Yeah,
on that?
yeah.
What'd you say?
There's state funding available?
As soon as they publish, you know.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I think- So they are looking for the end of November.
End of November.
So as soon as I know, you will know.
Perfect, that's great. Because by then, we will already have submitted the grant to the Census Equity Fund, and we can just tailor that grant application to the state funding, because it should be very similar.
Has anyone talked to?
So Margarita, just so I know, when I get my thing written and say, here's what you ought to put in is for what we're asking for, all the details that correspond to their questions and instructions, I can give you that draft and then you can kind of tie the ribbons on and attach a budget. And
Yep.
you know who to send it to?
Exactly. And remember, it's an online
okay.
application, and each answer is limited to 300 words.
Ah, well, good to know.
I
Okay,
know.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's why, it's been a challenge just even starting this, so. Short, sweet, concise. Answer the
So-
questions quickly.
Has anyone contacted, like Nantucket Magazine to see if they wanna do some kind of, you know how they'll do like historical kind of little articles? Just to let them know, A, that this committee exists, and B, maybe they would wanna do a sweep through the years of when the different years like I could see a journalist saying the last time was, what year are we in now? So it's gonna be 2020, 2000, 1980, 1960, like Nantucket through the census years. Like it could be an interesting article.
I like the idea,
Like
yeah.
the paper does that Nantucket, what is it, 100 years ago?
Right.
Looking back.
Looking back, yeah.
And do you
Yeah.
recognize this house?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you do that? I love that.
But if you got like Pursley and the gang to do it, then they reach all the crazy rich people who are then more likely to then want to maybe donate to the cause.
They might, it'd be interesting. It's an interesting concept because they don't live here,
Mhm.
but the resources that we would reap the benefit of with the complete count would help them.
Would help
So
them.
it's a
Yeah.
very, you'd have to make
Interesting.
you'd have to make a case, I think.
Yeah.
That sounds like an agenda item for our potential admin.
That's what
Yeah.
I
It's
was
basically
thinking.
press outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah, press outreach. And then also the data platform, has anyone talked to them? Because they're trying
They're
to
here.
get their
They've been at the
hands-
table. Yeah.
Okay, good.
She's been at most of the meetings.
Yeah,
Caroline.
she has been. She's on the
Caroline.
committee and
Okay.
she's,
Yep.
yeah.
And then I still think, I don't know if along with swag, interpreter, translator, this position, some kind of winter something. Like let's
Oh,
get the
luck
count
gatherings?
activity, like a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
fair.
Peter had a great suggestion about a lot of that, like
Yeah.
frequent gatherings, maybe school-based, faith-based.
Yeah, I need one that we go to their gatherings, but why doesn't the town have something? 'Cause
Right.
a lot of people have nothing to do in those miserable winter months, but
Yeah.
if we had some kind of census thing with face painting, some food,
Census fair.
and just information about it, I think that would be a way to get people to come.
How do you say census in Spanish?
I don't know.
It's kind of a funny word. I wonder if they do a census. I think most of our,
Like an alliteration, pizza night, but.
Senso.
Censo?
Yeah.
Okay, any other business? Motion for adjournment,
Me.
second.
any objections? Thank you very much.